Hello, how are you? So I have gone through your chart based on the details you have shared, and I'd like to summarize my findings. I feel your work has to be educational, inspirational, therapeutic in nature. So I'm not seeing signs in your birth chart that indicate you are going to be a business person. You could be working from the privacy of your home, and by doing so you could run a podcast in particular, as I believe your chart is leaning towards podcasting as compared to stand-up comedy. As you know, comedy, I'm not sure is directly or is educational, or can be educational, or it can be inspirational, but not necessarily educational in nature. So, and therapeutic also. Well, comedy is a good medicine, but I'm not seeing the signs. I feel um, it would be better if you can focus on issues, perhaps education as an issue for the ones who are, trying to get into the best universities. Perhaps your podcast can be educational. It could be related to health services or something similar. It has to have a theme which is attached to public service and social work in some ways. So I'll try to add more information there. I'm not sure the phase of life that you're about to enter, the phase of Saturn from mid-December this year, is a good time to experiment as far as your career is concerned. When I say experiment, leaving your job, current job, and then moving into something else on a full-time basis, as Saturn's introduction in your life might put some pressure as far as your career is concerned. In particular, Saturn from the 8th house is having an aspect on your career house. So you're likely to learn some important lessons under Saturn's. I won't say important lessons, I simply would say that this life would be serious than before, as that's Saturn's nature. So Saturn's way of teaching us is through challenges such as how to manage money better, how to save money for the future, or how to become more disciplined and organized in life. So Saturn has a way of teaching us, and under that Saturn's Antardasha, especially at the beginning, it might be a better idea to continue working where you are and not moving into doing something else on a full-time basis and putting yourself under financial risk. I also feel if you want to start something else and you'd like to experiment a bit, a better time would be the year 2025. I know it's far in the future, but if you'd like to transition on a full-time basis to running your own podcast on a full-time basis, you can on a part-time basis continue to grow your podcast under Saturn's Antardasha, and perhaps by doing so during that Saturn's phase of life, you might learn how to value time and how to become more disciplined and organized. And then around the year 2025 would be my recommendation, when you'd enter Mercury's Antardasha, that you can transition into your podcasting career on a full-time basis. So let's study your chart in more detail. Mars is a ruler of the house related to your career, and it's placed there in the 8th house in the nakshatra Uttar Phalguni. I would classify this combination as belonging to someone who could be a social worker, who has work directly related to execution of government policy. I completely understand this is not even remotely connected to your work, but however, there might be a connection there in the future, that through your words, through your podcast, you are trying to educate the world about policies and schemes or something similar. So you're providing some relief through information, and especially information related to government schemes in particular. That might be a possibility. I find Mars' presence there in the 5th house, especially in the sign of Cancer. Further signs of work being therapeutic in nature, healing in nature, and also educational in nature, as Mars is in the fifth house, and all careers which involves some level of education or some connection to the education sector is seen from the fifth house, and I find Mars' presence there. So this is interesting, I understand it's not related to your current work, but I do see that as your future work. So work being about, you're the kind of person who's just full of energy, with Mars being the ruler of your career house in the main chart. And, I would even classify your work as being a bit more investigative in nature, working out details. For example, if you are providing information on education, on universities, so you do your research and you discover information and you share information on scholarship schemes or government schemes for funding, etc. It could be on those lines, or perhaps health related, or perhaps insurance related, health insurance, for example. So your podcast is about how to maximize government facilities for yourself. It has to be educational, you see, it has to be healing. When people listen to you, they feel, I've gained something, I've learned something, and this is going to make my life better, is what I gather. Moon in your chart is a ruler of the sixth house. The sixth house is going to determine the nature of your work on a day-to-day basis. And since Moon is present there in the fourth house, work has to be done in the privacy of your home. Another indication is that work can be, from the privacy of your home, or you're likely to consider your workspace as an extension of your home. Moon in Kritika and Sun in Kritika. Now, outside what I've mentioned so far, you can directly start teaching, especially in schools. That's a possibility. School education is seen from the fourth house, and Sun and Moon's presence there in the fourth house is directly linking your career to the activities of the fourth house, and it could be related to school education, or it could simply be that you are doing something educational or related to the education sector from the privacy of your home. That theme is a constant. The nakshatra Kritika is being like a source of inspiration. It can actually be inspiration on a spiritual plane. So when I say your work can be educational, it can be school education, it can be specific to a government policy, to education industry, for example, or it can be on a spiritual plane as well. It would not be a bad idea at the end of this video, if you can take out the time and learn a bit more about the nakshatra of Kritika, which you can search on the YouTube channel of Far Far Away. If you click that button there and you search for this keyword, learn about the nakshatra of Kritika, as you find Sun and Moon, you have rather Sun and Moon, both of them placed in this nakshatra. Now Jupiter in your chart is a ruler of the houses related to money. So you're going to make money through Jupiter related activities, knowledge sharing, and Jupiter in the ninth house is the reason why you may also have some foreign exposure in life, as the ninth house is to do with foreign exposure. And the nakshatra Swati is a lot about social skills, the ability to mold your way of, molding your views which you have acquired through knowledge based on what the other person is saying. For example, politics. So we all have an opinion based on our knowledge. Well, when Jupiter goes there in the nakshatra Swati, the person becomes very flexible. So as a flexible person, when you listen to the views of others, you then go along with their views without challenging them. So this is a quality of an excellent host. In fact, you'll find this interesting in the video I posted on the nakshatra of Hasta, which again on Swati. I apologize. On Far Far Away's YouTube channel, Swati. If you search for this keyword, I have taken the example. I remember the example of Ellen DeGeneres, who's running that show in US. So I find the nakshatra Hasta directly related to hosts in particular, as they do well in a social gathering as due to their flexibility. But since Jupiter is there, once again, I'll go back to the same keyword. Education has to be your main focus, and Hasta's planetary ruler is Rahu in Punavasu. Perhaps you have a way of healing others in ways which is highly unique. You can actually end up helping people in ways they don't know they can be helped. So that's what your chart is suggesting. I understand the career that you had in mind, if it's comedy or joining your partner's business. I'm not seeing the signs there. Now, if we study the Navamsha charts now, Moon is in the 10th sign, which is an indication of work being inspirational. I would classify Moon in the sign of Capricorn, the 10th sign, which Moon is placed not only in the main but also in the Dasamsha chart, as a sign of a social worker, someone who's very responsible, a very mature person who understands. I also find Moon in the sign of Capricorn as a combination that belongs to someone who is taking care of people who are in their old age. So the workers in old age homes, you have the mind of that person who understands that they are going through this difficulty, and this is what you should say to make them feel better. So again, the element of work being therapeutic in nature seems quite strong to me. Jupiter, let's study that in the Navamsha. It's in the second house, the house of money. Again, it's Jupiter is going to be the source of income in life. Jupiter and Saturn coming together again, knowledge from a responsible knowledge sharing. For example, if you there's a channel by Dr. John Campbell on YouTube, and he's the one who creates podcasts. He has been doing so more regularly since the beginning of the pandemic, and he gets many views on his channel. So his views are very responsible, they're reliable, they're educational, they're therapeutic, as he's sharing credible information. So you have that quality in my view, and that's my recommendation to you as your future career. I would. Now, why are you in broadcasting? See, Mercury and Venus are directly related to a broadcasting career. So broadcasting requires excellent communication skills. Mercury in your chart is placed there in the nakshatra of Rohini. It makes you someone who has this artistic ability with words. As Mercury, which shapes our communication skills, is placed there in the nakshatra of Rohini, which is one of the most creative nakshatras. And Venus is directly related to all creative careers. Venus in your chart is in a super strong position in Revati. This is a very creative nakshatra. Where is this combination? It's there in the second house. The second house is directly related to our voice. And I find Venus and Mercury coming together in the sixth house in the D10 chart, which is the one related to one's career. And since both of them are there in the house related to our work is seen from the 6th and the 10th house. So there are two directions I see. One which is very evident, Jupiter, Saturn, all the key words I've shared. But then I also see Venus and Mercury coming together in the 6th house that has led you to build your career as a broadcaster. But I'm not seeing this as the main sort of, or should I say, a long-term option. Perhaps your long-term option might be to fulfill the purpose of your work, which is going to be this. The only other thing I'd like to add now, with Ketu's presence there in the house of money, you should always try to, should I say, detach yourself from money. Your feeling fulfilled from one's career and feeling happy about one's work would not come from, in my view, from making more money. It would come from the satisfaction of being able to educate, inspire, and heal others, and that should be the priority in my view. So I hope I've been able to sufficiently answer. Under Saturn's Antardasha, it's not as if the financial condition is not going to improve. It could improve. Along with it improving, you're also likely to become more responsible with money in your career in general, and that's my view here. So that's that. I might end. Is that a path for me? I'm not sure. So this is it, sir. I hope this information has been of some help. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.